I achieved 200% of my yearly resolutions, and here's how you can do too. For the past 8 years, I've been studying yearly resolutions for mine and also for my closest circles of the best people that I know. And I think its success all comes down to these few secrets. And I promise after this video, you will know how to make your yearly resolutions and most importantly, how to actually achieve them. The way that I'm going to do it, I'm going to give you the stories, I'm going to give you the lessons, and then I'm going to give you the secrets of mine. So, basically, since I was young, I was 8 or 7, I always had those aspirations, okay? I always had those dreams, I always had those goals. Some of them I achieved, some of them I didn't. I actually do remember in school, so my mother wanted me to get a grade. She wanted me to get 9, I got 7. So we literally faked, I literally faked the results of my 2nd grade. And my mother, obviously she figured it out and she was like, well, that's weird. Like, why did you do that? I was like, I was scared and I wanted to get that grade. And she was like, no, it's fine. It's like, you did a good job. But the thing is, it's like always within me, that thing that always aspired for goals and aspirations. But the thing is, in most cases, not all the time, you get them done. Actually, for my first few years, there was like all-in goals. It's like I was 14 at the time or something. I was making these goals. I'm like, this year I'm gonna hit 1 million subscribers. And like at the end of the year, and I'm like, dude, I'm 400 subscribers. Like, how can I get that? Then the next year, I'm like, look, last year I said 1 million, I got 400. This time I'm gonna say 100,000. I'm pretty sure I can do that. And I was like, oh, well, at the end, I'm like 1,700. I'm like, dude, that's not 100,000. And like the thing with it is like, you learn from doing it again and again and again, and it actually sucks. And one of the best years in terms of like yearly resolutions, it was like actually making them a big of a deal. So it was making them a big of a deal that I was literally telling them to anyone. I was like, I have this year's goal, this thing, and I have to make it happen. Right? And it was doing it again and again, and it was all the time watching all of the yearly resolutions. This year, last year, the year before. That year actually did good. But at the same time, I still didn't get what I wanted. And that what got me that for the next year, I didn't write yearly resolutions. I said, you know what? It might be just all be a lie, and maybe it's not effective at all. So I should just stop doing it and let's see what happened. Spoiler alert, it was horrible year. Actually, it was the most horrible of years in terms of achievements. And that means that really you need to make goals for your sanity and also for your success. You assure that you will succeed at whatever it is that you do. And it doesn't have to be some specific metric. It can literally be anything you want. As long as you truly believe in it and you truly think that you will actually achieve what you think. So here's a few tricks. I think the biggest of them all is, at least if you're not totally, let's say, you're not ready to change everything, make half of your resolutions, or a few of them, whatever works for you, consistency based. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you bake. So you bake, that's your job, that's how you get money, that's how you make money, that's your dream, that's your passion, that's what you want your goals to be oriented about. So instead of saying, this year I'm going to make the best of bread, or the best of cakes, right? It's like so vague you can't even do it. Or even if you make something measurable, it's like, this year I'm gonna win 5 competitions in bakery. And you're like, sure, it makes sense, but it's still like, how can I know that I will win 5? It's hard, especially at the beginning. Obviously, if you've been doing that for like 10 years, or last year you did like 4, and the year before you did 3, and the year before you did 2, sure, make 5. It makes all the sense. But if you've never won and you're like, oh, I'm gonna win 5, it's a big no-no, and most likely will not achieve it, because that's not how the right way. It's not like you will not achieve it because you don't have the ability. You have. You just have to put your mindset in a certain way so your mindset works for you to actually achieve those things. So instead of saying, I want to win 5 bakery championships, you're gonna ask yourself, okay, So what is the closest that I got to this? Let's say I won one championship last year. Okay, good. So what did you do to win that championship? Well, first I was baking consistently, then I applied to this championship, then I went all in for like 2 weeks, then I baked a masterpiece, and that's how I won. Okay, good. That's something you understand, you can replicate. So the first thing, you have to be consistent with bakery the entire year. There is no exceptions. Because you want to get the 5 championships, so you might as well do that. Then you will apply to as many as possible of championships, because if you don't apply, you don't even have the chance to win. So you will apply to every championship. So let's say you apply to 100 championship in that 1 year. Maybe you will get accepted, some of them will not get accepted, some of them you will have some stuff going on, but if 100, there is more it's like most likely that you will at least attend to most of them. Then you're like, okay, this is the third step. What can I do next? It's like every championship that I get, I have to go all in for 2 weeks, because that's what I did and it worked, so I might do it again. Right? And at the end of every one, I have to use that 2 weeks to bake a masterpiece that will get me the championship. Like this, it feels as if it's a process or a system in place that will work for you, and it's not as if like you're just gonna sit, but you know the plan. You know that, well, first I have to be consistent. So if I'm not consistent, none of this will happen, because you will not have the practice, and that based on the data, like what you have noticed in the year that you got the championship. Then you're like, okay, if I don't apply to all of the championships, then well, I don't even have a chance. And according to the data, my data, when I applied to a championship, that's when I had a chance to win, and I actually won. So I have to do that 100 times, let's say. If it's hard 100 times, just do whatever it is, and it has to be challenging. It's like if you're comfortable with doing 5, do 10. Something like that, but nothing too crazy. It's not like you go from 1 to 20 or like 200, no. You have to go gradually based on how hard it is, right? So I'm gonna give you an example. It's like for me in my life, I've been doing content creation for 8 years. I started filming at the age of 7, 8, but it was just with my Nokia. I don't even have the footage. So it's like at the age of 14, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this YouTube. I just discovered YouTube at the time, and I said, this is what I want. I've been filming all the years with my Nokia. This is doing what I used to do, but I can make it a job, and I can also get paid for it. It's like literally the heaven for me. So for the past 8 years, that I literally was consistent, and he was making videos. I have only one video that got me to 2 million views, like past 2 million views in every platform. Count all of them. And I'm talking like one time. There's videos that repurposed got way more than 2 million views, but I'm telling you, like one time. It's like one video views. You just see the video and you see the views, like how many views it got, not repurposed or whatever. One video out of the 8 years. So it will be like unfair to me to give my yearly resolutions to make 5 of that. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? It's like you've done that one time in 8 years. It's almost a decade. You only done it once. So usually you don't want that. Even saying it once is like crazy, because it happens only once in a decade, according to the data. Right? So here we're not talking about the rate of progress or potential. We're talking about data. It's like in the past 8 years, I done it once. So is it more likely to happen in the next year or not? Depending on all the metrics that you will calculate. But the thing is that I'm explaining here is not about the video, as more of a like how likely it is that you will achieve your goal. So let's say, as an example, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say it's usually related to volumes, like you do something, and as an example, if I calculate all the videos that got me more than 100,000 throughout my 8 years, I will have crazy amount. You know, maybe 300, 400. I can see how much I got last year, let's say. If I see, let's say last year I got 30 videos over 100,000, 30 videos, I might say that, okay, for the next year, I'm gonna see if I can get 40 videos over 100,000. Sure. It's like, sure, because I did the volume, I might be able to do that. even that I'm challenging, so it's healthy and also it's unrealistic, so it gives you the boost and energy to be like, I'm gonna be better than last year. But also it's nothing like crazy that you know you will not achieve it, because the opposite of achieving your yearly resolutions is actually not achieving your yearly resolutions, and it sucks so much that you will hate it. You know, it's like, it's coming from experience. Like, I've done this all the time. I was like, this year I'm gonna get to 100,000 subscribers. I never got to it. I did it for 8 years. Every year I say, this year I'm gonna get to 100,000. It's like in my 5th year, I said, you know what? I'm never going to say that again. But the thing is like, because I had the data, and for most people when they're starting out, it's hard to know how my performance will look like, because you compare yourself to others. Quite frankly, you're no one else. There's nobody like you. And that's not the unicorn theory. It's really just what it is. And it's not as if nobody like you. It's like nobody that you aspire for that is 100% like you. There's a lot of people who are like you, and he is also probably like you or was like you, but not in the way you think. And a lot of success stories, just people see the rise and don't see the lows and stuff like that. I'm sure you're familiar with these, but I'm telling you from an experience, because look, I just have seen this clip of Tristan Tate talking about it. It's funny. It's like, it's not funny, okay? There's nothing fun. But like, he was speaking about how 70% of the Western world want to become a vlogger or content creator. You know, it's something. Everybody is wanted, right? So he was speaking about how most people will not become that because they just simply don't have the substance, right? And that's why you see a lot of young people doing some crazy shit, because that's what gets traction, because they don't have the substance to actually, like, they don't have some crazy experience or knowledge. It's like Cristiano Ronaldo now making a YouTube channel. Makes sense. Like, the dude is insane. He's probably like, he's the most famous person on the planet. He's like, half of the planet thinks that he's the GOAT of football. It's all of that, right? So he has the substance when he makes his YouTube channel. Like, of course everybody wants to see it. But when someone is young, doesn't have the experience, why people would watch you? I even seen this clip. And these things, I actually don't like to talk about them because they're secret. Like, I think this is the precious information, but because I film all the time, it's like, of course I'm gonna get it out. You know, it's like, if I just hold, how long can I hold? Of course I'm gonna tell stuff that are valuable. And even, okay, I'm gonna even get a segment inside of a segment. Even Joe Rogan talked about this in a podcast. I'm not going to say the contest, but he was talking with Elon Musk, and he said, well, a lot of people are not like in order for you to understand someone deeply, you have to talk with them for like 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that, to really know who they are. Because people like can, you know, you can look different in 1 hour, half an hour or so, but like when it's 2, 3, 4 hours, then it all makes sense. And just like, dude, I filmed like 10 hours just in the past week, so yeah, of course I'm gonna spit stuff out. So if there is one thing that is so important that I think every creator should know about, that I learned from the past 8 years, is that in today's world you have to have a talent to make people interested in you. Of course it's like, dude, that was what was humanity was about. But no, at the beginning of the internet, it was not that. It was just because you make videos, that's special. That was the unique talent. Now everybody's making videos, so what are you bringing to the table? You know what I mean? It's like, that's what it is. And I've seen this coming from huge guy in the industry, and they have these corporations of, look, they're big. And the thing is, I was like, if he said it, it must be real. You know, and it is one of the sources that I know, if I get information from it, I know it will be correct, and I know it's real. It's not like none of the bullshit podcasts that you see people trying to act as if they're someone else. And that's what it is. It's like all of these are just stuff that you can use in order for you to achieve your yearly resolutions. It's like the data that you have, what you think you can do, what you have done already. This is important. Like the most important is what you have done already. The hardest part of it is if you have done nothing. Then you're like, dude. So you just get the data from the closest thing to it. You know? And that's what it is. It's like if let's say, I'm gonna give you an example. If you ended up, like if you finished high school and you're entering college, it's a big thing for a lot of people. It was for me because I was uneducated about college. I had no clue what college looks like. So I for that transition, one thing that I should have done, I think it's awesome for people to do, and this is just an example, you can apply it in anything, is that you look at the data that you have. So sure, I don't have data from my closest people. I can learn about people, but I don't think it is the best way. I believe data is better. So instead of just watching YouTube videos about people bullshitting, basically, if you've been through that phase, you know what I'm speaking about. It's like you go look at the data. So you're like, okay, for the past 12 fucking years that I was studying, what had happened wrong? What is the wrong, like, worst thing that has happened? Okay, well, nothing. I was like, bullied, sure. That's it? Okay, good. How in the world will college be that bad? And etc. And you go there and you go back. It's like one of the things that I had, it was French. I didn't know French at the time, and I was like, dude, I'm just so scared. Everybody's better than me, especially because I was 1 year delayed. Everyone from the generation after me were speaking or learning in French for years before me. So it's like, dude, I don't like that. It's like uncomfortable. But I knew, it was like I didn't know at the time, and it's fucked up. But now that I think about it, I should have just said, well, I learned like 167 dialects in Arabic. And also, I learned English, which is my third language academically. How is it less likely for me to learn French? And just like that. And you're like, okay, now do you think that after 12 years of me just being in the educational system, just because language changed, I'll be this bad? Probably not. I have already the knowledge that I accumulated, etc., etc. And also, one question is like, all of the transitions that I did, were all of them scary? Sure, like from 6th grade to 7th grade, from 9th grade to 10th grade. I was like, okay, good. So this is healthy. Sure. Now, did any one of them was as bad as they thought? No, none of them. It was actually way better. I should have just went through the same the thought process. And I would have picked that up so easily. Now that I look back and I'm like, dude, why did I do that? Why did I waste so much potential and with having all of the data? Because I didn't believe in myself. And it was like in that negative state, it's like just complaining, I know nobody in college. My family didn't go to college. I don't have the data. My friends have their brothers. Like, shut the fuck up and get to work. Because if you think that everything you do in your life, you will wait for people to do it for you, then you do it, then probably you will not achieve what you want. Amongst them is your yearly resolutions. You know what I mean? This is where we're going with. It's like everything makes sense at the end. It's like everything literally makes sense. So to make your yearly resolutions right, look at the data, make it better. That's all what it is. The best is volume. It's consistency goals, because that's something you can control. And when I say consistency goals, I'm not saying do bullshit for a lot of times. I'm just saying do something for a lot of times. It doesn't have to be bullshit. With a lot of times, you get it better. And the way you get it better is by looking at data, analyzing, making decisions. It's the only way to get better at anything in life. Let's say you play basketball. The only way for you to actually be better at basketball is by playing a lot and analyzing your play and making decisions. So how do you collect data from your basketball? You figure that out. Whether that be you film, you count, you write, you journal, you literally do whatever it is. Or you do some sort of system. So like every day I practice, let's say 200 throws. Makes sense. every day I practice 200 dribbles. Makes sense. And you repeat that the entire time. Then you're like, okay, so for the past months, I did 200 every day. Which ones were best? And according to what? So let's say which ones I used in the actual games, which ones I didn't. Which ones they were so easy, it's like I think that's my PowerPoint. Which ones they were hard for me, because I think that that's not suited to me. And you repeat it, and that's how you make decisions. So the next month, instead of saying I'm gonna make 200 throws, you can add something else. And I'm not saying month, because month it might be a short period for a lot of people, so it might be quarterly, half a year, or yearly resolutions. It's like instead of making one day, let's say you say this year I'm gonna throw 10,000 times. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like your first year, you want to get into basketball. It doesn't matter what it is. 10,000 times. At the end of the year, I look back, I have the data, and I'm like, okay, out of those 10,000 times, what were the best 1,000? Which place I was in the court, right? What time of the day was it? What was I eating? What was I wearing? And you can analyze all the different things. So the next year, you're like, okay, now I'm gonna do the 10,000, or if you can hire it up, it's up to you. But I'm gonna focus on the best, like the highest ROI activity that got me to do those best 1,000 in the first year. So it was, let's say, just shooting 3-pointers. That was your literal like best 1,000. So I'm gonna say, this year I'm gonna make 10,000 3-pointers. So you're doing the same volume, but now you're not only making volume, but you're actually getting better, because you're doing what works. And you made the decision because you analyzed the data. So you don't have to be basketball. I'm not basketball, definitely. But the thing is, this applies to everything in life. If you want to be a basketball player, if you want to be whatever it is. I'm not going to even give an example, because there is literally no counter example that will prove this wrong. Even, I'm going to tell you something, even in college, we study all the time about the national systems. All of them go through the same process. And then like every lesson or lecture I go in and I'm like, dude, it just makes all the sense. If a country does it, you might as well do it too. And look, as I promised, like from now, just don't do anything else. You can go write down the best of your resolutions, and you make sure that you actually will achieve them. So it's not just bullshitting yourself, and then you're like scared and depressed and hate because you did resolutions and you actually didn't achieve them. And just as like I promised. And you can do it from now. And what you've seen here, you can never unseen. So you might as well subscribe, dude.